A throwback Thursday, Orlovsky, because these teams did meet. It was October 11th. It was in Eugene. Fourth quarter, Indiana up 7. Fernando Mendoza, he throws the pick six.
Very uncharacteristic for him. 1, you got internal pressure. 2, man coverage, undercut on the crosser. Oregon needed a defensive play in this game, and they make it.
But what they like about Mendoza, this is when people started talking about it, he bounces back immediately. Look at him here on the screen. Elijah Surratt, who had a huge game.
Surratt's a star. I mean, this guy's a bona fide physical presence. If you give him some space, it's a huge win. And then one of my favorite things about Mendoza is when he sees it open, he's going to pin it exactly where it needs to be.
What a throw back shoulder. Surratt, 8 catches, 121 yards in the game. And then Dante Moore on the very next drive. Tipped and picked.
This is the beauty of Indiana. The defense is so good, so multiple. Ball goes up in the air from a defensive lineman. Huge pick.
And then it would be Dante Moore again, this time desperation time, down 10, and he's intercepted again. The Indiana defense would force a fumble, sack Dante Moore 6 times, and intercept him twice. So a dominating defensive performance. And this was really the game where I think a lot of us said, hold on a minute. Indiana's not just a good story. This might actually be a really good team. Now, here's the one area where history favors Oregon. This is going to be the 6th regular season rematch in CFP history. If you look at your screen, 4 of the previous 5 times the losing team in the regular season wound up winning in the playoff. The only exception was the Tulane Ole Miss game, which I don't mean disrespectfully, but obviously feels like it belongs in a little bit of a different category. So once again, history suggests Oregon in this one. Fernando Mendoza asked about it last night.
I would say that Oregon's a fantastic team. They're a national powerhouse. And although that we beat Oregon, it shows that we are still the underdogs. You know, at that point, you know, we were for sure the underdogs. They're ranked above us. However, we're trying to keep that underdog mentality going into this game.
The underdog thing is interesting. I went to school.
It's like AI. It's like every time you watch a video of him, you're like, am I watching? Is this AI? Is this really? This is somebody real quick.
You don't love that kid. I don't know what you're looking at. Here's the thing I'll say. I went to school in the Big Ten. There's a part of me that I still can't believe that Indiana is what it is right now. That's why when they destroyed Alabama like that, the people who follow college football, you know, as closely as Josh Pate, were not surprised. And those of us, even those of us who watch all the games, were like, Indiana's going to destroy Alabama. It still feels like an underdog story, which then brings us to the point you were making this morning. As recently as 2022, you were doing a game in blue.
I was still calling college football, and I called Penn State at Indiana late in the season, middle of November, and it was a mess. Indiana was awful. I think they had 2 wins. There might have been, I'm not being hyperbolic, 5,000 people in the stadium. The starting quarterback in the game the night before entered the transfer portal and still started in the game for Indiana.
What a throw.
I remember taking
Look at the crowd.
That's in the first quarter. I remember taking a picture to my wife and being like, my goodness, no one is here. And so that's 3 seasons ago. It's 2022. They were awful. They were embarrassed by a fine Penn State team. And now they're arguably the best team in college football. I feel like one of the great teams that we've seen in the last 2-3 decades in college football.
I think that brings us then to this question. I think that the question that is on your screen undersells it. Josh Pate, is what we are seeing in Indiana right now the greatest turnaround that we have seen in recent sports memory?
Yes, because the edge of the cliff is college football than the cliff for me. So in college football, yes, unequivocally. Dan's talking about that 2022 game. You know me, Greeny. I got like Homeland Security sources left and right. They told me they used witness protection and planted people in Indiana Stadium. That's how safe that place was. That's how void of humanity that place used to be. And I've listened to Kurt Cignetti talk about taking the job and walking in there and feeling in many ways like it was a downgrade from James Madison. The vibe, the facilities, and everything. And so, yes, not just the results on the field. The results on the field are downstream of what they did off the field there. And like we've said on this show many times now, it just wrecks the model for everyone else. John Summerall's taking the job at Florida now. Alex Golesh is taking the job at Auburn right now. Can you imagine those guys
Good luck.
trying to sell their administration on a good 2, 3, 4-year plan? And they're saying, hold on. And they're clicking on the college football semifinal tonight. That's the Indiana head coach, right? Those are the ones that just drug Alabama, right? It's a tough scene for everyone else. But the answer is yes, this is a massive historic turnaround.
I can't remember anything quite like it. Based upon, I mean, in professional sports, sometimes we'll get teams go from worst to first, but there's a totally different feel in that because there have always been professional teams. You know, they were much closer to an even playing field than the worst teams in college football should be, but the best teams in college football. So to go from being one of the worst, I mean, arguably as bad a program as you could be in the Power, what was then the Power 5 and now the Power 4, to being, I think at this point, fairly head and shoulders the best team in the country. I've never seen anything like it.
It's hard to just be concrete about it, but we are witnessing arguably the greatest coaching job we've ever seen. The last time Indiana has won anything of substance, conference-wise, whatever, was like 1945. Like going back to 2000, they've had 21 losing seasons. This team was a
2000
to 2000. Going back to 2000, 21 losing seasons. This team was a pigeon in college football, and since Kirk Big Netty has gotten there, he went 11-2 last year, and he's staring an undefeated season in the face. And again, in this landscape of college football, we talk about how parity's coming to the game. We love to see it. When you look at the 4 and 5 stars that these teams have in the Final Four, Oregon has 58, Miami has 45, Ole Miss has 36, Indiana has 7 on their roster.
Okay, so here's the question.
Incredible.
Because we have either, and the people who this is their job, misevaluated the talent on the roster. I think 247 Sports has them ranked as like the 77th ranked roster in college football. So either there's been this unbelievable misevaluation of the talent, or it is the greatest college coaching job of all time, because there's no way that roster should be a Final Four team, let alone the favorite to win it all.
Yeah, I mean, the coaching is absolutely incredible. There's nothing sexy about Indiana. I think that's what's throwing off all the casual fans is like there's nothing about them that you're like, oh, yeah, they have this guy and that guy. Like, they do everything correctly.
But is that because the team or the logo?
I think it's a bit of column A and a bit of column B because they wear you down. They're not going to make mistakes on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, they're going to take care of the football. They're not going to have penalties. It's all things you look at and be like, that's a well-coached football team. Yeah. But as the casual viewer, it's like, I don't get how they keep winning and keep doing these things.
They just won the Rose Bowl, and their MVP was the offensive line.
That's exactly. That's exactly what Fernando Mendoza is. Fernando Mendoza is the offensive lineman of Heisman Trophy winners.
He plays quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
We're rolling along, kicking off the playoff palooza as we continue.